I'm a fan of affordable cars because everything seems to be getting more and more expensive, and hey, let's face it, we all love a good value. This is Out Motorsports, the channel for cars as you are, and I'm here with the refreshed 2024 Nissan Sentra SV. These are cars that you probably don't think of as, enthusiast-oriented cars, but a lot of us love a value. We love a car that is just nice to drive, has plenty of features for the money, and that is exactly what Nissan is giving us. They've gone through and done a couple new things for 2024, and they sent one of these my way to check out and see if what they've done makes it that much better. So let's go ahead and dive on in. So first things first, let's talk about styling on the 2024 Sentra. So Nissan did indeed give all of these a new nose. You'll see a new design. It's just slightly tweaked over the prior model year. You've got this new Nissan logo here, and then they did change the headlights a little bit. These are still going to be halogen headlights, but they are indeed a little different, and they are automatic on this model. So for those of you who are unaware, that is controlled on the left signal stalk. Now, moving around to the wheels, these are going to be the same carryover wheel design. These are a 17-inch wheel that comes on the premium package, which this car has on that middle SV trim. But if you get a 16 or an 18-inch wheel, you're going to have a new wheel design for 2024. Popping the hood here, let's talk about the drivetrain, because this is the familiar 2-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder that Nissan has been using for a little while. It makes 149 horsepower and 146 pound-feet of torque. That is unchanged from last year, but Nissan did change the CVT in this car. You can only get these with a continuously variable transmission. No manual is offered anymore, but they did change it this year because they added auto start-stop. So when you come to a stoplight, the car will turn off and turn back on as needed, and they had to change the CVT for that. They also said that they changed the shift ratios, which is kind of goofy because CVTs have a ton of ratios. They're not infinite, but plenty of ratios. But they changed up what it can do and how it delivers power a little bit. So we'll talk about that more in the driving portion. But all that to say, they improved things a little bit. It helped for fuel economy, and this is rated now at 30 miles a gallon in the city, 40 miles a gallon on the highway, and 34 combined. Now, we love an efficient queen. However, this is not going to be the highest efficiency vehicle in its segment. I know, if nothing else, the Toyota Corolla does beat it by a couple miles a gallon in both counts, but they're all right there. So in the 30s, in the 40s, that's pretty impressive for a car this size. Now, looking around back here, this design is going to look familiar if you've seen a Sentra on the road in the last few years. This is unchanged. However, if you get an SR, which is the more sporty model, they did do a new design there on the rear end of that Sentra. One other interesting thing is the interior in here, because this is something I never thought I'd see in a Nissan Sentra, and that is quilted leather seats. So take a look at these. There is a lot of peanut butter tan going on in this interior. This is, I think, really good looking. And this is part of the premium package. So this is an SV, which is the mid-trim. The S is the base, the SR is the more sporty higher end. But this is an SV with premium package, which adds the tan leather seats as your seating surface. Now let's hop in and talk a little bit more about what's going on in here. I'll show you first of all the gauge cluster. Close this door real quick. And gauge cluster is going to stay pretty traditional, so you've got regular analog gauges, which I love, and then a screen here in the middle. You can cycle through what that shows. Moving over, you do have this tan covered dashboard if you get the tan seats, which is a really nice touch. It brightens up the cabin quite a bit. And then you've got your infotainment screen here. This does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It is wired only, which honestly I'm fine with. One fun quirk, if you've ever used a Windows 95 or 98 computer and listened to the Windows Explorer sound, listen to this when you touch the screen. Y'all recognize that? That's the sound that Windows makes when you double click on something, which I think is hysterical. It's a fun little Easter egg in the Nissan. It's not just in the Sentra, it's in all of their newer Nissans that have this infotainment system. So kind of a funny touch. Now moving further down this center stack, you've got 3 nice big vents, you've got dual zone climate here, and you've got heated front seats and a heated steering wheel. Now these come with the all-weather package, which you can get with or without the leather interior. So if you want heated cloth seats, which I love, you can get heated black cloth seats and a heated leather steering wheel. Now there's a couple things that getting this premium package adds for 2024. Nissan added 3 key things to the premium package. The first being a 360-degree camera. So if you put the car in reverse, you do have not only your regular backup camera, but a 360 view. Now this is not the highest resolution, but it's fine for what a lot of people are going to be doing. And honestly, it's nice to have versus not. Now, that is one of 3 things. The other thing that you'll see here, if I look down at the speaker grills, there is a Bose audio system in this car, which is actually pretty decent. I've been really actually enjoying it for what it is. It's got an 8-speaker setup, and for this kind of car, I think it's plenty fine. Other thing that's going on with the premium package is door-mounted turn signal repeaters. So you've got those turn signals on the mirrors now, just as a little extra bit of safety. Now you'll notice this car also has a power moonroof up here. That is part of that premium package. And otherwise, this is pretty well equipped. It feels nice in here for what you're paying. This car with both the all-weather and premium packages is $26,000, which I think is a good deal for all you get. It presents really nicely for what you're paying. If you don't care about the leather and some of the other premium touches like the bows and all that, you can do this car for like 23 and change, and that still gets you the all-weather package, which I would always do because it's about $650 and you get the heated seats, which even with cloth is just so nice to have if you live anywhere that gets remotely chilly. So this is, I think, a pretty good value on the surface, but obviously I want to talk about how it is to drive. So let's set these cameras up and go for a little drive. So let's talk about driving the 2024 Nissan Sentra SV. So first things first, I want to talk about these seats because I think they're really pretty. They make the car feel very elevated. They look really, really nice, and I don't know if I like them. So first things first, they are very firm. I've had several people ride with me in this car already, and everyone has commented as soon as they get on, wow, these are very firm seats, like sitting on a park bench, which they are. Nissan says these are part of that zero gravity family of seats, which are known to be very supportive. People tend to like them, and they are supportive to a point, but I think they're just kind of, I want a little more like sculpting to them or something. They're a little flat, and I think that contributes to them feeling a bit like a park bench, but they sure look nice. The other thing too, as a tall individual, I'm 6'1", I really feel like I'm kind of sitting on this car, not in this car. And that's to say my legs, I can't go far enough back to feel comfortable with how long my legs are and get enough thigh support while also feeling like I can reach the steering wheel. If I slide the seat back, it's a power seat, which is nice. Now my hands are really far out, which is not safe. You want to have the steering wheel rim hit you right about here when you drape your arm. And I can do that, but only if I'm stretching forward. So I should move the seat further up a little bit. This is now comfortable, but now I feel like I don't have a ton of thigh support right up here, and the front of the seat doesn't tilt, only the back half of the seat tilts up. So it's fine. It's just if you're taller, I would really caution you and just say, check it out. Every body is different, so see how you fit. Now we're at a spot here where I can accelerate, so I'm going to put this in the hidden sport mode, which if you've driven a modern Nissan with a CVT, there is a little button here at the back of the shifter with a line, and if you push that, you will get DS in the gauge cluster for Drive Sport. So as soon as traffic clears, I'll go ahead and hit it here just to show you what 149 mighty horsepower sounds like. Okay, so she's not quick, kind of slow to build revs. When you've got your foot in it, I mean, this is not a sports car. It's not fast. Away from a stop there, it really took a second to wind up, and that was not a fantastic experience. If you're already on the move and you put your foot in it, the CVT is quicker to find a lower ratio and accelerate. And once you're on the move, the power band, it gets you in that kind of meaty middle of the tachometer, and it does feel pretty good there. I'm gonna put it back in regular drive and slow back down. If you're just kind of mushing around and not really trying to drive this thing hard, I actually really like how it drives. They've got the CVT tuned and optimized to try and keep the revs as low as possible, and it actually works. The way the engine delivers torque and everything, especially in a city environment where you're driving really slow in traffic a lot, it is very, very well tuned, and you just kind of shuffle along. It almost feels like an electric car where it doesn't even rev to a noticeable extent. So really well tuned, and then even on the interstate, you could be doing 60, 65 miles an hour, and you're revving right at 2,000 RPM. It's fairly quiet, it's fairly unbothered by the whole experience. It's just when you stand on it away from a stoplight, that's the only time I don't especially love it. Now, talking about how this thing rides too, this is obviously more of, you know, a comfort-tuned vehicle, not a sport-tuned vehicle in the first place, but it does seem like it's set up to be slightly firmer than something like a Corolla, and I like that. So it is, you know, firm without being overbearing. It feels like it's got good damping even over bumps that would otherwise unsettle the chassis. It is actually very well controlled, good body control. And that goes with some steering that I think is pretty nice. It's appropriately weighted, it's light at parking lot speeds, and as soon as you speed up, it gets an appropriate degree of heavy, and it actually gives you some pretty good feedback through the steering wheel. So, you know, nice to have that for a car that's ultimately an economy car. You know, these are not meant to be sporty, but it does feel pretty good. Now, obviously, this is on those 17-inch wheels. It's got a Michelin tire that's paired with it. I can't speak to how the 18s or the 16s feel because they will be a little bit different. So much of a car review comes down to the wheels and tires and the whole setup that they've got. So just something to think about, but this feels really, really nice. And then otherwise, with the brakes, when you have to slow down, I also like the brakes quite a bit. They do feel good for that initial bite. As you lay into the pedal a little bit more, just the pedal feel, everything about it is good. They've got this car set up pretty well for someone who enjoys a car that drives well. This is not super appliance-y feeling. And then as far as other things, ooh, we've got some little twisty bits here. Let's see how this feels. And so as we get through a little bit of a corner, this is, you know, about all you're gonna get around Northern Virginia, but, you know, again, the chassis feels nice and composed, the steering feels good, everything is just pleasant in here for someone who enjoys driving a little bit. You know, this is not a sporty car, no one's claiming it is, but this is very buttoned down, buttoned up, whatever the phrase is. It's very, I like it. Not something I thought I'd be saying about a Sentra. Like, I like the driving experience of a Nissan Sentra. It's very fascinating to me. But it is well put together. It's a car that I think if you know, just need something kind of good value and cheerful, I hesitate to say cheap because 26 grand can still be a lot of money to some people, but it's pleasant. I like it. As far as other things not exactly related to how it drives, which is more of the experience sitting in here other than the seats, which I said, you know, are a little iffy for tall people perhaps, but you've got a nice low dashboard. The screen is, you know, a little tall, but it's still out of your line of sight, at least for me, being a little taller, it is. The sound system, like I said, is very good for this class of car. You've got good visibility out the front. Out the back, the pillars can be a little the C-pillars out there if you're looking to look over your shoulder changing lanes, but otherwise it's pretty airy in here. I do think the tan interior helps a little bit. And then you've got nice amenities going on. You've got the dual zone climate, the heated front seats, the heated steering wheel, USB-C and USB-A for connecting your devices. You've got a nice big center armrest right here that is padded. It's nice and thickly padded, and then these armrests here are also thickly padded. So I think if you fit in the seats and you're comfortable with the driving position, this would be a comfortable car to just like eat up miles in. I think it would be, it's pretty well set up for that. And then accelerating again. Acceleration's fine here in the mid-range if you're willing to let it rev a little bit, and the engine makes plenty of power and torque. I'm really not concerned about that. And then otherwise, you know, as soon as you lift throttle a little bit, it just drops right back down and wants to cruise. And then coming to a stop here, let's see if the engine will shut off. It does a pretty good job with auto start stop and not being intrusive if you're in traffic. And there we go, it cuts off. So auto start stop, I don't love on a lot of cars. It's fine on this. It fits the character of the car. You know, I really don't like it on a luxury car that's got a 4-cylinder. It can be a little, you know, vibration-y, but here it works fine. It cuts back on quick enough, and you don't really feel the vibration of the engine turning back over too much. I think in general, Nissan's done a nice job here with the NVH, the noise, vibration, and harshness of the car. You hear the engine in general when you're accelerating and working it hard, but otherwise this feels pretty solid in here. It's fairly quiet for what it is. Everything feels screwed together nicely, and this is, I think, punching up a little bit. I'm really impressed. The more I drive it, I am coming away more impressed than I thought I would. And so that's the 2024 Nissan Sentra SV. Like I said, I think it's a pretty good value. It punches up a little bit, which is always a nice thing to experience, no matter what your price point is. Thank you so much for coming along. As always, be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe right here. Follow us on all the other socials, and head over to outmotorsports.com if you want to find out what we're doing for 2024. We're already planning events on the track and on the street. We'll get that all posted here very, very soon. Till next time, please stay safe, be well. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.